I'm Rob Pierkowski, and I have the very easy gig of introducing the next speaker who needs no introduction. Harry Cargile is going to present to us, give us a DLE update. Harry is the Director of Academic Technology, Strategy, and Integration for SUNY Online. I've been fortunate enough to know Harry since the prior century, when he and I started around the same time at SUNY. Harry started a little bit before me in the days of dial-up, when we were called the SUNY Learning Network. And I believe this is our fourth migration. We went from Lotus Notes Domino to Angel Learning to Blackboard and now to Brightspace. Did I get that right, Harry? Harry's been central to all of those efforts, and Harry has been central to all the efforts on all the campuses in regard to online learning and online delivery of courses. So, just a few other things. Harry won or was awarded the Chancellor's Award for Excellence in Professional Service. We both think in 2022 or 2021, we're not sure, but it was well earned and well deserved for sure. And so without further ado, Harry Cargile.
Well, thank you, Rob. All right, well, thank you for the expectations. Yeah, I know, let's end on a high note. So I guess I want to start with thanking Alex for all of the work that she's done with organizing these conferences that she has done for years, and for agreeing not to let any questions come through that I can't answer intelligently. I really appreciate that. I want to thank everyone that is here in person. I know it's not easy to do the traveling, so it is fantastic to see so many familiar faces. There's people here that I have not met before, so looking forward to that opportunity. So thank you for that. And I would be remiss if I did not thank our virtual attendees. So whether you're a friend from South Africa, an associate from Canada, a colleague from a SUNY campus, thank you for tuning in, and I hope this meets with your expectations. And I really look forward to hearing some perspectives that you might bring. So I will start with a ground rule. So because we have, I have Alex's attention. So because this is both SUNY and non-SUNY, there are certain questions that I may have to dodge and weave around when it comes to contracting. There's only so much detail that I can talk about. If there are service desk specific items, we have Mike Walker that is here, that is the manager of the service desk. So I will defer to him for those things, but certainly any and all questions can come during the end of this presentation, and I'll be here for a couple of days, so definitely track me down. So the agenda. So things that I'm looking to cover. And because, again, we have both SUNY and non-SUNY, there's some context that is important to have for a number of these things. So I know for those of you that are a part of SUNY, you've seen these things before, you've lived through them, but it is important, again, to show the full picture so that we can talk about where we were, how far we've come, what the status is, and what the next things are. So quick intro to SUNY and SUNY Online. So you have seen New York State in a previous slide, so that is what it looks like as a reminder. The SUNY system is the largest comprehensive university system in the United States. We have 64 institutions. And I included a lot of numbers from 2022 just to drive home the fact that we do a lot of things across SUNY. SUNY System Administration, that is where SUNY Online is a part of. Specifically, SUNY Online is a part of the Office of the Provost. Part of the description that I have there are the supports that System Admin provides to campuses. It is not just the Office of the Provost. We have an IT center and do a lot of things outside of online learning, but specifically for this, SUNY Online is a part of that. So what is the digital learning environment, or DLE? I won't read through all of this. Conveniently, things highlighted in yellow are the important things. So we have the LMS as the core, and this is conceptual as we were forming this project. We wanted to make sure that we identified tools and reduced the redundancy of those tools. We wanted to be consistent and have a standardized approach to a number of things, whether it's templates or giving opportunity for training and support and things of that sort. Accessibility and security was paramount. And then certainly data strategy. We want to make sure that we can make the best well-informed decisions for each individual campus as well as SUNY as a whole. I won't read through all of this information, but what I want to highlight, which we all live through this, is the order that these things are in. Students, that is what we're here about. Students are the most important factor in education. So most of our focus and most of our perspective has been, how do we create the best experience for students? And one thing that has been a little bit of a challenge through this project is the concept of the SUNY student versus the specific campus student. And we understand that there's still some things that we're ironing out with that, but if we can get over that and really embrace what is best for the student across all of SUNY, we've done our job here. Instructors and faculty, obviously, students can't learn without faculty, so tremendously important. But there's less faculty than students. As we go along the list, admins. Admins don't necessarily get the most glory, and support doesn't get the most appreciation, but smaller number of people there, but again, very critical because they're supporting faculty, they're supporting students. And then institutional, that's where we get into strategy and budgeting and all of those other factors that are really super important. So a little bit about the project management. Dan did share a similar slide, and I'm happy to say it's not the exact same slide, but it does represent kind of our path, our initial path. So my good friend, Jamie Herron, and I, as well as Rachel Hagerman, were part of a project back in the fall of 2018, where our charge was, what are the essential elements of an LMS? And it was the groundwork for what are the requirements for the RFP that we ultimately created and what were the preferred items. So within that process, we were able to talk to nearly 1,000 SUNY online faculty or staff to come up with a lot of data to help us really, truly make informed decisions when we went through that process. Through that process, I know that we all lived through that process. There was a little bit of a global health thing that happened in the middle of this as well, which made things a little challenging, but we were able to get through it and still have the awarding of the contract to Brightspace in fall of 2021. Concept of the structure of the implementation project. So this is a slide that if you're from SUNY, you've seen many times. It includes my favorite colors, if that makes it any better. The cohorts represent the starting point of a group of campuses, but each campus had their own individual migration because we recognize that it is each campus has uniqueness that we needed to go through, whether it is the technologies that a campus was using, the programs that they have, any, personalities. Some campuses have more, vocal personalities and others are a little more passive. And we wanted to make sure that every campus had the opportunity to express the interests and the challenges that they might have. So again, concept was that we would complete this project at the end of December of 23, which was this past December. For the project itself, again, this is a slide that if you're from SUNY, you've seen before. What I want to highlight is anything that's in green has either representation from SUNY campuses or has co-leadership from SUNY campuses. So what we really tried to do throughout the implementation project is include the campuses in the process because this is our environment and we want it to be our environment. It's not system admin's environment. It's not one specific campus's environment. It's all of our environment. And that's what the structure was, trying to build. So the Brightspace ecosystem. So unlike Kim, when she was going through, I don't have like a 2.0 or a 3.0 with my ecosystem, but it is the general structure that we tried to put in place to make sure that we hit with, some of the technical challenges that we would have as a part of a multi-tenant environment. So some of those challenges were, if I'm a student at multiple campuses, how do I have one single account in a multi-tenant environment? Each campus has their own existing LMS. Prior to this project, each campus has their own student information system, and they're all different. So for the LMSs, we had Blackboard, we had Canvas, we had Moodle. For the SISs, we had, primarily Banner, but we also had Colleague and Genzabar and PeopleSoft, a couple other Power Campus. So it wasn't consistent. So we were all coming from different places, but that really reinforced the need to try to get that consistency and that structure in place. The way that our environment works. So we, very early on, we looked at having all of SUNY in one single instance in one single site. And what we realized early on is that there are some complexities when it comes to the university centers because of their size. A university center is kind of a mini multi-tenant environment in and of itself because of all of the different schools and all of the different levels and just the sheer magnitude of those schools. So we made the decision to allow the university centers to have their own instance or their own site. But for all other campuses, while we're going through the implementation, it was all a part of the Brightspace, the single shared environment. And what that looks like today is we have the single site, we have it broken down by sector, and then we have the individual campuses that are part of the respective sectors. So right now, we're not really using the sectors for anything specific within the environment, but it is a placeholder just in case it makes sense for us to do that at some point in the future. So thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. So this is a slide that I could probably talk a couple hours about. I won't, but I'll be here for the next couple of days. Thank you, Ed. Thank you. So very, very briefly, what is in green reflects the campus. What is in blue represents sysadmin supports. And as I had mentioned, SIS data, we're getting data, separate data from every single campus. Authentication, that was a key item because every campus has their student have a specific campus-specific username and password. So if I'm a student at campus A, I might be harry.cargile at campus A. At campus B, I might be hcargile at campus B. But what we needed is we needed a way to tie those accounts somehow to match up to that single account within Brightspace. So we're able to do that with Global ID and with federated authentication. So that is all I'll say of that. And certainly the LMS again is the core that ties into the individual tools that we're using. Certainly templates and training and all of these other things that are really paramount for this, and obviously accessibility and security. So this is a quick example of what it would look like if I were a student, in this case, Harry's student, where I logged into Oswego, but I see both my Oswego and Broome courses. So that is the scenario that we were looking for, that we are trying to remove the barriers, so making it more convenient and easier for students and for faculty to navigate. Again, it's not seamless. We're still working through things, but that was the concept. Metrics. So everybody loves numbers. Dan was able to share some numbers. Unfortunately, we didn't overlap with that. So most of the numbers that I will be sharing are new for the day. And what I've done is I've compared from March last year to almost March this year. So the numbers are from yesterday. And I wanted to call out the differences in one single year. And to put this into perspective, we've only been on Brightspace for about 22 months. And if you remember back to the slide where we talked about the different cohorts and the different timing and starting of that, we haven't had all the campuses in the system for that long. But even with that, a couple things that I'll call out. So production courses, this is something that is a reflection of converted courses as well as courses that have been delivered in the environment. So it does not necessarily represent only courses that have been delivered. For the courses converted, those are primarily the Blackboard and Moodle courses. So we've had 96,000 courses converted in the system. So that is a lot of courses. For the accounts is probably the coolest number, because we've had nearly 407,000 unique users log into the system. And that's only after 22 months. And that's only after our cohort 4 campuses are just getting on board, are just getting started. So that will continue to increase. And if you look at the difference from today, or technically yesterday, and a year ago, that's over 200,000 additional, 200,000 additional unique accounts that have logged into the system. For third-party tools, I think it was Kim that had mentioned and didn't want to specifically call out a number. We have 214 unique tools that have been integrated into the system. So one of the overall goals has always been to reduce the number of unique tools, use SUNY for economies of scale, for helping us save money. It helps with training, helps with support, all of those things. But we recognize that there's a critical need for campuses to have the functionality that they need. So we didn't stop any campus from going forward with the tools that they have, and there's contract implications with those things as well. So that is why the number is so high. And the number below that, the 1,143, that means that we have nearly 1,200 configurations in the environment, because even if a campus is using the same tool, that is a unique license and a unique configuration that needs to be done for each of those tools. So this is a really cool slide. So these are numbers that we did not have last year, and is a reflection, and we have opportunities to refine that reflection. But if we look at campus associations, so what does a campus association mean? It means that we have faculty that is associated, enrolled in more than one campus. So more than one course for more than one campus. Same with the student perspective. So for faculty, which is a much, much smaller number than what we have for students, still 1,800 faculty across SUNY are a part of multiple campuses. And we have three faculty that are associated with 5 campuses. So that's a lot. But I've spoken to a few people, and this isn't like an official survey or anything like that, but I've talked to the people that do have those multiple, some people that do have those multiple associations, and they talk about the time efficiency that they don't have to log into campus A, do their work, log out, log into campus B, do their work, log out, so on and so forth. So it has created a lot of efficiencies. And then with the students, nearly 38,000 students are associated with multiple campuses. So that is a huge number that we hope we're able to create a greater student experience for those students. And again, we do have some work to do to make sure that all of the messaging and everything that we want in place to organize that information is there. But it shows me that we're going in the right direction, and there's potential to really make a huge difference for all of those faculty and all of those students. So we've talked about this a couple of times, so we're almost done with this project, right? Sure. For cohort 1 and cohort 2, we are no longer meeting on a weekly or bi-weekly basis with any of those campuses. So from an implementation perspective, yes, we are done, but we're still working with all of the campuses. For cohort 3 and 4, there's about a dozen that we're wrapping up those weekly or bi-weekly meetings, and we anticipate within the next 2 to 4 weeks, or the end of March, we'll be able to transition those campuses to operational support. So, well, why didn't you end all of those at the end of December? Every campus is unique, and we didn't draw a line in the sand because there are different needs, and there's different tools, and there's different resources at each campus. And some of the campuses have never had automatic data feeds into an LMS. And so we are addressing a lot of challenges that campuses have had in their previous LMSs within this implementation to make sure that when a campus is up and running, they're in the best position for success. So that's still going on, but as that's going on, we're looking at, okay, well, what does life look like in operational or when this is complete? So we've talked a lot about this post-implementation governance structure. So it is something that we do have in place. Every single campus at SUNY is represented within this governance team for the campus representatives. There is an opportunity for that representative to meet with other people on the campus so that ideas can be brought out into the open at the campus, and then those ideas can be introduced into the campus representative meetings for other campus representatives to weigh in if that is an idea that is worth developing into a proposal. If it is, that gets developed into a proposal, and then there is a presentation and a vote for that to determine if there is enough interest to go to the DLE Council, which is made up of a cross-section of campus-specific leaders across various areas. And if it is approved at that level, then that is something that we move forward with. So this would be something that would replace the campus implementation planning work group, if you're familiar with that. But it's really a way that we, as a village, can look at challenges and say, I have an idea that might make things better. Let's talk about it. If that makes sense as a group, we move forward and we make it a reality. So at this point, we would be done, right? Yes? No? So we take a step back and we say, but wait, there's more. Because there's always more. It never ends. And that is what technology is. That is what change is. We embrace the change. We embrace the opportunity. So for the areas that I listed out here, we've talked about the lore a couple of times. So the Fact2 group has been working extensively to make that a reality. We have custom reports. We talk about data. Data is really important. D2L is going through a transition from what they used to call Domo is now going to be quick sites. So a little different front end to access data sets. So what we will be able to do is we'll be able to collect desired reports from campuses, prioritize those, and make those a reality so that campuses can have on-demand data. User attributes. So for those of you that are familiar with the Discover tool, there are some challenges with that. User attributes will go a long way in addressing some of those challenges. We also have Course Merchant and things of that sort, but we're also working with our friends from D2L to try to think of creative ways that we can use user attributes and push the limits of things and do things that we're not able to do today. Training, we talk about training, that's one of the core things that always needs to be present because, we don't want to be stagnant with things. We want to make sure that if there's a new blinky object that makes our lives easier and better, and ultimately the students benefit, we want to know how to do this. We want to know how to really take advantage of that. Documentation and training goes hand in hand. And one of the things that is a huge opportunity within the multi-tenant environment is why reinvent the wheel over and over and over again, which is what we did with our separate LMS sites. So it doesn't mean that one person creates the documentation and then everybody uses it. There might be, rebranding of that documentation as appropriate, but it should not be recreating the wheel. You know, we're a village. We should be working with each other, whether it's training, whether it's documentation, whether it's, you know, any item that we can think of to make a part of the lore or whatnot. So again, looking for those opportunities. For custom development. So those of you that are part of SUNY might be familiar with the gradebook enhancements that we put in place. So that was a specific request that we made with D2L. The purpose of that was we recognized, based on feedback, but we recognized that when we started using the global ID and not using a campus-specific ID, the campus-specific ID was not a part of the gradebook. And that was an issue because the campus-specific ID was in the student information system. So we expended the resources, we made the arrangements, we talked and gathered feedback, and we made it a reality so that now the campus ID can be a part of the gradebook. So that is just one example of what we can do with custom development that we have put in place. Most certainly, and it's just kind of a side line item here, but it's actually a very significant thing. We have a co-development for distributed administration project that we're working on. So what that is there are decisions that have been made for campus administrators based on the initial structure of the multi-tenant environment. So the campus administrators may not have all of the privileges that they had within their individual LMSs. And what we're looking to do is we're looking to transition some of the things that are going through the system office as a part of addressing some of those challenges to be back in the hands of the individual campuses. So this is a 1.5-year project that we will 100% be bringing campuses into this to get feedback so that with the delivery of these this customization, it is going to be something that is going to make the campus administrator's life better, which makes the campus faculty better, which makes the campus students better. So more feature opportunities. That's just a reality of anything with technology, whether it's Creator Plus, Course Merchant. You know, some campuses are embracing some of these new things that are available, and we want to continue to make those things available. And I'm sure D2L has some magical plans in the future for new developments, and we want to be able to embrace those, and hopefully with our partnership, help steer the direction of some of those features. Tool consolidation, we've talked a number of times. If we can have more RFPs, then we will have theoretically less cost. And one of the big things that we've seen is, you know, historically, is a disparity between certain campuses where Campus A might not be able to afford certain tools, but Campus B can afford those tools. We want to level the playing field so that those best-in-class tools are available for all campuses. So that is a part of the thought process. And when we have less unique tools, that again helps with training, helps with documentation, helps with support, thus lowering the costs in those areas as well. EIT accessibility and security, it's something that Kim mentioned, Dan mentioned as well. That is paramount. That is not just a checkbox. You know, that is something that is really important to embrace through all the things. And security, obviously, if we don't have security, then we don't have a system. You know, we can't have a compromised system. So the privacy, FERPA, all of these things are super, super important. And as a part of the distributed administration, making sure that when we're expanding privileges, that doesn't mean that campus A now has more privileges into campus B, just the opposite. We are locking down certain things so that the access is more appropriate. Communications, Kim and Dan talked about this as well. So we have a wide variety of communications that we continue to have in place because, again, we're not done with the DLE. Maybe we're getting close to being done with the DLE implementation project, but the DLE is here. It is something that's going to last. And then for public web presence, I wanted to list those things out. Most at SUNY probably are familiar with those. For those that are outside of SUNY, we do have a lot of good resources there. The dle.suny.edu, I want to specifically call that out. A lot of great information there. There are some links that are private. So I would say if you're non-SUNY, click on all the links. Half of them will work and you'll get the access that you need. If there's something that you're specifically looking for, just reach out to me and I will provide that information for you. So what I want to close with is an analogy. So I want you to think of the DLE like a vacation. If you're not already. So what is a vacation? And what is involved in a vacation? Well, let's see, there's planning, there's resources, there's logistics, like who's going to take care of the cat? Who's watering the plants? Did I hold the mail? Look in the fridge, expiration date, eat-a-thon, the important things. But then you need to pack. So strategically, what are you taking from point A to point B? You have your suitcase, you bring it to the car, you bring it to the airport, you're on a plane, you get to your destination. Is the vacation complete? No, it just started. So you're there, you open the door, and that's where your journey begins. And it's a world of opportunity. And that's where we are with the DLE. We're just starting our vacation. Exactly. And with that, I'm happy to open it up for any and all questions.
Only going to take questions.
I will try to answer any question that comes through.
What is the meaning of life, Harry?
42.
So it all starts with your dad, actually.
I rescind my question.
Donna?
I was wondering how you were evaluating this, how students are associated with multiple campuses. Is it by they are actually enrolled in classes in each individual campus, or they just have an account with each different campus?
So it is based on enrollment. So student A would need to be enrolled in course A at campus A and course A or B at campus B. So there's two separate courses, two different campuses, and that student is enrolled in those two courses. And
then just
Hi. Kim spoke earlier about tools being integrated into SUNY like Starfish. So at that level, how does that differentiate between something that you mentioned about integrating, and how do you decide between something that's there for everybody and that the way it seems she was mentioning, and group purchases versus RFPs versus tools we can, or features we can turn on and off for some or for all, and so on?
So, good question. So we do have the governance structure that we've put in place where there's campus representation. And that is really going to be the avenue that those ideas, hey, I want a video solution, happens. And through that process, there'll be a determination of, does this make sense to be a global tool that everyone uses? Is it something that we're just going to make sure is a U-wide contract that campuses can pick and choose from? So that will be determined by the specific campus interest and then ultimately by the council. When we're talking about tools, there's a lot of moving parts and pieces with that because that has certainly cost implications, that has contract implications, because if there's 5 tools out in the wild today that do the same exact thing, sure, it'd be great if they all ended on the same date, but that's just not the reality. So with any kind of contract, I would want to make sure that there's flexibility with when and how campuses are able to be a part of that. But again, ultimately, the governance would.
Yeah, to follow up, I mean, as we just were recently looking into purchasing a new tool, the question came up on my campus repeatedly, well, what's happening at SUNY? Because are we going to enter into this contract and then they're going to turn around and say, oh no, we've decided on this other thing. And that certainly does make a big difference. So right now we're feeling like we can only make a contract for like a year instead of being able to take advantage of, more cost-effective approach if we buy it for 3 to 5 years. I'm looking at what Kim mentioned earlier about Starfish. I mean, we just got rid of Starfish. And to think that, oh my God, now I'm going to have to go back and tell them, oh, by the way, guess what? It's going to be the right. I'm not saying that that's what's happening with that, but when I caught sight of it earlier, it made me think along these lines, and then you brought this up again. So that's where this is coming from.
Harry, can I jump in?
Sure.
Do you mind?
No.
I want to point back to the governance structure because that's where future decisions about U-wide tools and whether we go out to RFP for something or not is going to come through. That we had hoped early on in this project that we would have more tools that would be U-wide and have contracts in place, but it's a lot of work to do an RFP to get a U-wide contract in place. So we just didn't take that on along with the implementation. We've deferred that to after the implementation. But we are starting to have those conversations, as you know, Ann, because you're in that group, with the DLE campus reps. And as those priorities from the campus reps come forward and are recommended to the council, they will come forward to be recommended to SUNY system, and we'll pursue those contracts. My expectation, based on the few things that have happened in the DLE campus rep group and council so far, is that there's going to be probably a trend toward on-ramps for campuses that align with their contracts, right? So if we do a new U-wide contract for something will have to be based on an RFP, then if a campus is already using something, we're not going to say you have to get off that, right? And again, that's going to be informed by recommendations that come through the governance groups. So my expectation is that's what you all are going to want to see. So I hope that gives you some sense of, it is never going to be our intent to pull the rug out from under campuses. And we are never going to be able to move as quickly as a system as you all can individually as campuses. And we don't want to hold you up. So you all have to make whatever decisions you have to make locally about what you're doing. We really have the long view on this and how do we get to a better place in the long run? Does that make sense?
And to add to what Kim said, so with the governance structure, there's no reason why you couldn't, or someone from Sullivan put in, hey, I have an idea. My campus is thinking about going forward with said solution. Is this something that is in the works or in the plans for the system? And just like Kim said, we might not be able to move very quickly, and it might force individual campuses to say, all right, well, we need to make those critical decisions because of the timing of things, but in the long run, we might be able to have other solutions, or potentially we have something in the works and that aligns perfectly, depending on the timing of an expiring contract or things of that sort. That sounds fantastic.
It's okay if you can't answer this publicly, because SUNY versus not SUNY. But is there already talks or decisions being made about a video conferencing tool that's built into Brightspace? Because I know that's a sore point on our campus, the fact that we have to go externally either to Teams or Zoom. And we loved Blackboard Collaborate for that reason, where everything was one-stop shop. And so that's one thing that's seen as missing by faculty on our campus, having that tool already built into the LMS for classes.
So we have an idea that has been put forward for a video hosting solution, but not for a specific, Zoom or Teams or that kind of solution. We have a virtual classroom that is a part of Brightspace today. So that is an option that you could expand the features of that. But if there is a desire to have something like that discussed within the governance group, make sure that that idea goes to the right person, gets to the campus representative group, and people weigh in and determine, okay, what is the timing and the desire to go in that direction.
Perfect. I'll continue to push it up on our campus.
Awesome.
So since we're looking at consolidation of tools and making it easier for campuses to access that stuff, is there any plans both on a DLE basis and also on a wider SUNY basis to have some sort of publicly accessible database of VPAT, HECVAT information? Because since all of us have to fill out that form every time, and I darn well know that other campuses have already sent that to you, it would make it so much easier if we could just have some place where you guys share the ones that you've gotten and we can point our sites to that. So we don't have to keep doing the same thing over and over again. That would be fantastic.
So we can definitely talk more offline on that, but just as an overall answer to that, we are in such a better place today than we were 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. So the concept and the understanding that, hey, why should we do things 64 times if we can do it once? It makes logical sense to do that. Accessibility and security is challenging, and we need to make sure that we do it right. We're not just checking a box. So there's all of those considerations, and honestly, there's legal considerations with all of that as well. So all of that is a high priority and is something that we're actively working on.
Harry, could I just add a comment to that?
Of course.
The process that we've been going through for both EIT accessibility and security compliance with tools has raised some questions about, what is, and I'm sorry, I can't see you, Chrissy. What is SUNY responsibility versus campus responsibility? Where is it appropriate if a campus has done something that another campus doesn't have to do the same thing? Our goal is to minimize duplication of effort wherever possible. But there have been some questions raised about the way in which tools get used at the campus level, the feature sets within particular tools, which does enable some variability in what the review of that tool for EIT or security compliance might look like. So again, our goal is to minimize duplication of effort and to facilitate sharing of information. But there are some questions that are coming up, and I think there is going to be a question for the DLE campus representatives about, what is appropriate to share. If your campus has submitted something, do you want other campuses to see that, right? So I think there are going to have to be some discussions before we get to the final decision on that. So more to come, but I just wanted to add some insight into the questions that have come up that still have to be resolved. And we do have some meetings coming up with Office of General Counsel and others at SUNY System that we'll be reporting out on.
Adding to the idea of the database, what also is important is knowing where we are in the RFP process or the SUNY-wide contract. We had 2 vendors who didn't want to take our money, surprisingly enough, because they said they were trying to work something out with SUNY. So it would be helpful to have a roadmap to know there is discussion going on and that there might be SUNY taking, having a contract rather than us working alone and pursuing this. So the database is important to know, the tools that are out there, their functionality, EIT, but also what is SUNY looking at and wanting to help us with tools we already have.
Yep. And just to repeat that real quick, if everyone didn't hear that, the question on the table was, there are RFPs that might be in progress with other groups within SUNY sysadmin and some campuses. In this case, NASA has had challenges where contracts have not been possible for the individual campus because there's work that's being done with sysadmin. So I will answer that in 2 ways. So what I can confidently answer is when we're talking about things that relate specifically to the digital learning environment. So those are things that Kim and I, and Dan, would be directly involved in and have a full understanding. Those are things that would go through the governance structure. So our vision and our hope is that there would be transparency with any RFPs that are being requested and going through that process as a part of that governance structure. The second side of that is if there are other groups outside of SUNY Online or outside of the DLE that is engaged in contract work, those are things that we might not have the immediate transparency of. And I will take that back because obviously we're working directly with so many things with the campuses that we want to make sure that we have a full understanding of those things and can answer it intelligently when there's questions like that are asked. So again, with the governance, with the DLE, that should be transparent, going forward. With things outside of that, that is something that I will take away with me and figure out a way that we can be more upfront and more transparent with that process.
Can we go to the virtual audience just for a second? Tonka, are there any questions from our virtual folks?
We did have 2 questions. Both were answered, one publicly, one privately. Here, Jamie had a note that when you were talking about custom development, you forgot to talk about merge tool. So she was reminding you.
All right. I've been called out virtually. So with the merge tool, that is a great reflection of our partnership with D2L, actually. So early in the process, we identified challenges with merge courses, and the way that the functionality worked, it really required the internal sysadmin team to take the actions on any merge courses that happened after the initial creation of those courses and subsections. So what we're able to do is we're able to leverage our partnership with D2L, be a part of a beta group to test out and work through a new merge process and be the first group that was able to put that into the wild. And certainly we had a number of people from campuses that that were critical in the testing, in the feedback, and ultimately it created this great opportunity to address a need, address a challenge that was actually a no costs scenario for us because it was mutually beneficial between SUNY and D2L to go through that process and make the D2L tools better. So Tonka and whomever called me out, I appreciate that.
Hi there.
Hey, John.
I shared the slide that you posted that showed 1,811 faculty associated with 2 campuses.
They're not all from Plattsburgh.
And the 37,000 students
Yes.
with multiple campuses. And my boss, TJ, the CIO at Plattsburgh, wrote back, yikes, the primary email issue should be near the top of the list of items for them to resolve, which I'm sure you're advocating for. So I fulfilled my expectations of my boss by advocating for that.
Well, thank you for that, John. So our partnership with D2L gives us the opportunity to bring challenges in front of them. We have had conversations about email as well as other things that are, again, a challenge, a pain point that we're trying to come up with creative solutions and, address those specific items. So that most certainly is an item that we're looking to address. Some of the co-development distributed administration efforts will address some of those specific things, not specifically for email, but specifically for role that is associated with accounts. So we kind of lump it all into this email area, but it's really, you want to be able to identify which students, which faculty are associated with Plattsburgh, and all other campuses want to make sure that you have a full list of the students and faculty that are associated with your school. The distributed administration will make that clear on having the ability to see and help support all of those individuals. So that might not specifically be the email issue, but the overall, there's 38,000 students that are associated with multiple campuses. That distributed administration custom development, well, so.
Hi, Harry. Ed Beck from SUNY Oneonta. I know we've had this conversation before, but when we put that huge number up there, it's very eye-catching to say that there's 36,000 students that have associations with 2 campuses. But we know, for example, that like 40% of students come in with community college credits that they took in high school. And so essentially, these are transfer students that are bringing in 3 credits, 6 credits they've done back in high school and are coming to our community college comprehensive university centers as first-time students. And so what I've asked in the past from you, and I think that it would help clarify the issue for us better, is if you could give us that number, but for how many students are taking classes at 2 institutions in a single semester. Because I think that 36,000 is eye-catching, but I think there's a lower number that are actually being impacted in the way we want them to be impacted by this DLE. And we have to more closely focus with our data on those students. Because I think they're an important number, but it's a much smaller number than 36,000, I think.
Yep, and I mean, we are getting into the to the weeds a little bit with SUNY specific items, but your point is valid. we are only looking at 22 months worth of data. So it's not like we're looking at 10 years worth of data. So there is some validity to those numbers. And I think that there's significant validity to them, and certainly validity to your perspective as well. So, those are things that once we do fully complete the implementation project, we'll have a much more clear picture of full 100% activity that is going on within the system.
All right, we're just about at time, but I do want to check with Tonka and the virtual audience to see if there's any last questions from our virtual friends.
Kathy had a similar question that Ed had, Kathy Dutton, and her question was if when counting the number of students taking courses on multiple campuses, did you look at if the courses occurred at the same time or different semesters?
Yep, so we don't have a breakdown specifically for that. So those are all students over the last 22 months that were associated with multiple campuses. And I think a little bit of context with that is, just because it's not occurring in the same semester doesn't mean that there's not incompletes or a value in referring back to previous classes. So there's things that we can do to refine those numbers, but you're absolutely right. That's the starting point to drive home the point that there's a lot of students, a lot of faculty that do have those multiple associations.